Alright, let's get this thing started. While I wait for people to trickle in, I'm just going to go send them a link. So, if you're watching this later, hang in there, skip ahead, we'll get going in just a moment. Okay. Okay. Alright, so we got that tweeted out. Let's see what we want to do here. I do want to give people a moment to trickle in, if they so choose, but this is kind of on a whim, honestly. I'm not actually expecting more than a couple people to pop in. We'll see if they do even that. Alright, in the meantime, let's go check out the state of the podcast. Looks like there's a couple people just popped in. Go ahead and say hi so I know who you are. Hit up that chat. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be playing StarCraft today. Definitely my all-time favorite PC game. Armorhide. I don't know what that says. I can only hope that it's not horribly insulting. Okay. But yes, welcome. Just got your dinner. Well, settle in. So, alright. While we are waiting on a few other people to pop in. Armorhide, where are you from, Armorhide? I am curious now that you're typing a little bit there. Let me know where you're from. Let's see. Yeah, Craig plays StarCraft 2. Hello. It's only the greatest PC game of all time, behind maybe StarCraft. So, now there's some pretty great PC games out there, but I'm a sucker for real-time strategy, and this is the godfather of them, or not the godfather, but I don't know, the big kahuna of them all. So, yeah, I love this stuff. But I think today, well, I'll probably start by taking it a little easy. Let's just play like a little tower defense, and while you guys are currently learning Japanese, okay. Yeah, a little tower defense while we're waiting for other stuff to happen, partly because I want to talk to you guys a little bit. And get some of your reaction to Brent Weeks stuff. And so if I'm playing a ladder game, then it's going to be really hard for me to concentrate on you guys. And I want to do that right now. And then maybe we'll do a ladder after a match or two of tower defense. So we'll wait for some people to trickle into this game. So Armorhide, you live in Alaska? Are you native to Alaska? I'm curious. Alaska is a place I would love to visit one day. Everybody says, go during the summer. It's beautiful, and go during the summer. But there's a part of me that always wants to see a place during the season when, during the off season, or the time when natives have to, experience it, or maybe not natives, but people who, live there full time. And so there's a part of me that would like to go to Alaska, early spring or late winter or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, you're born there. Okay, great. So I lived in France for a couple of years, and I tend to go back during the peak season, or at least close to it. So between April and October, I tend to go back there. And there's a part of me that always figures, I really ought to go back during Christmas season, because that is Christmas in Europe. Oh, magical, really great. So yeah, there's a part of me that kind of wants to do that. Let's see. Jeremy says I poured about 8 years of my life into StarCraft 2. Yeah, I kind of did the same, at least for a while. So this came out in what, '09, and we're in 2019. So I probably played it near daily for like 5 or 6 years. Dropped off for a little while, and then I picked it back up a couple months ago, and have been really enjoying it again. So I'm kind of back on this. I also picked up Destiny again, Destiny 2, because a friend wanted to get me and Ryan in on his fire team, and so Ryan and I fired up Destiny again for the first time in a while and played that the other night. But that one, I don't know. Destiny, it's like, I don't like the grind as much as I think some people do. It's fine. Sometimes all I want to do is just mindlessly grind out something, but a lot of times it's a little bit too wearying. All right, Cosmere Podcast is here. Armorhide, don't do early spring. Is that from all of the runoff, or why specifically not early spring? I don't know. I grew up in Seattle, and I like wet and cold weather, so I don't know. I think I could handle it. So, all right, now that people are in the lobby and we're going to get this game started, I want to talk to you guys about Brent Weeks and get some opinions, because I just started. Now, before I say anything else, I just started Lightbringer. I am literally like 5 chapters into the Black Prism, so I don't really have any experience with Lightbringer. I'm enjoying the first 5 chapters. They're very good so far, so you just keep that in mind as we talk about it. Spoilers and stuff for Lightbringer. Keep them to yourselves. But we can talk all you want about Night Angel. I haven't read is it a novella or whatever, short story? I don't know what it is. I haven't read that one, whatever it's called. Perfect Shadow, or I don't know. But I've read the trilogy, obviously, if you guys follow along with the podcast. So, Chris, Bonnie, my friends got me StarCraft 2 for my birthday a number of years ago with the intention of having me play with them, but the skill gap was too big for it to be enjoyable. 100% understand that. For sure. It's one of those things where if somebody gets it, somebody gets it for you for your birthday, like if I gave it to you for your birthday, I would expect that I would give it to you and then not get to play with you for like 3 to 6 months after that. I would say just go through the campaigns, dip your toes into multiplayer, and then let me know when you're ready to really do multiplayer, and let's check it out. Oh, what race am I going to be? I need you guys to vote really quickly. If you're familiar with this game, do I do a certain race, or do I do a random custom builder and let the computer decide for me how bad I'm going to suck? Well, this is tower defense. It's not actual regular StarCraft, so I can't do Protoss. And I play as Terran anyway. Yeah, okay, we're going to let the computer decide. This is going to be an adventure. Wings of Liberty, yeah, that was the original StarCraft 2. Okay, so I got a few units here. Oh, shoot. Great. Okay, are you guys, even if it's not this one, are you familiar with tower defense? Because I got no tanks. No tanks. Okay, this is gonna suck. Alright, let's see what we can do with this. So yeah, these are all draws from different races in this particular tower defense game, and I didn't pull a particularly great group. This one, every time I slay an enemy, I'm granted 2% of that enemy's hit points per second for 12 seconds. So, that's good. Yeah, so Cosmere Podcast, if you're not into StarCraft, then you might not know this. They've got this whole arcade where people can do custom games and put them up to play. Some of them, most of them are terrible, but some of them are really good. This one has been around since the dawn of StarCraft 2. I don't know I don't know of any time without it, so it is a classic for sure. So what I've got to do, obviously got to build the towers, but then this building right here allows me to increase my gas production, which you'll spot up here at the top. And I use that to send units to terrorize the other team. And in so doing, I gain even more income. Oh, awesome. Tell me if oh, stream complete. Okay, stream is continuing. I don't know what happened there. Oof. Okay. Sorry about that. Alright, so let's see what we got. Anyway, back to the Brent Weeks thing. Oh, shit. So we did Night Angel, and I think we all on the podcast enjoyed Night Angel, but I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on Night Angel. Is it like the apotheosis of fantasy literature, or was it not, not up to your standards? Let me know what you guys think of Night Angel, because I'm hearing that whatever my thoughts may or may not be on Night Angel, that Lightbringer is magnificent, and it's his masterpiece compared to Night Angel, but I know that some people actually prefer Night Angel to Lightbringer. So again, without spoilers, let me know what you guys think of that one. If you've listened to our podcasts on that, then you kind of know what I think, but I will also mention that as we go. All right. Let's do one more. 7 out of 10 from GMD. Is that regarding Night Angel? I probably would have given that to the first book. I think the first half of the first book is like 8 or 9. It's really good. I was really hooked. But at the end of the first book, I was like, huh, really? That's the direction you decided to go. I'm not so sure. But on the whole, I did enjoy the series. I think I was just kind of confused with how it was structured, where it went, where it kind of took off in a direction that I wasn't sure was totally earned as far as becoming super epic and all that stuff. Alright, let's get some towers in here. Some tanks. These are not great tanks, but I guess we'll do what we can with them. Lightbringer is much more polished. I've noticed that definitely where it just in the first 5 chapters, I've met, I think, 3 characters. Kip, Gavin, and Gavin's brother, whoever that is, the guy in prison. And it's definitely it's apparent that these characters are already more interesting than Kylar was in the first 5 chapters. I think with Night Angel, it was a lot of really interesting situational setup, but then the characters maybe weren't quite as interesting. But then with this one, it's definitely more focused around the characters, at least, again, so far. Cosmere Podcasts, never read any Weeks, but I've heard comparisons to Mistborn. It is, that's actually shocked me so far, even in just the first 5 chapters, how close it is to kind of the structure of the magic system, where, you have people who can manipulate certain colors, but then if you're a bichromatic, then you can manipulate 2, and if you are multichromatic, then you can do more 3 colors or all of them. And so that's very similar, obviously, to the Mistborn versus the Mistings. So yeah, I noticed that right away. When Brent Weeks was at JordanCon, he kind of talked about, somebody asked him about similarities to Sanderson and all that stuff, and he said something along the lines of, I started Lightbringer, and then Warbreaker got released, and somebody told me how crazy similar it was, at least, kind of in the magic system being based on color and all that stuff. And he says, crap. And he says that he refused to read Warbreaker until he was finished with Lightbringer. So take that for what it's worth. Joshua says, Night Angel felt a bit juvenile to me. The characters were remarkably bland, yeah. Let's see. I guess I better concentrate a little bit on the game. Oh, crap. Oh,
Not
crap.
enough minerals.
Oh, well. Let's see. Chris says, Chad, Night Angel is like a bar band with a first record of hits, but follow-up struggles. Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good comparison. It's the interesting thing about Night Angel for me is learning that they were all published roughly at the same time. He wrote them all at the same time. They were all written and then edited and then prepared for publication simultaneously. And I think that they may have suffered a little bit for that because, you take somebody like Rothfuss. Yeah, we're all frustrated with how long it's taking Rothfuss to finish that third book. But part of the reason I'm sure that it's taking him so long is that he feels like, oh man, I've learned so much since that first book, and I want to make sure that it's more polished than what I put out there before. And if he puts out a product that he feels is subpar, then obviously he's not going to be happy with that. And I feel like maybe that might have happened with Night Angel, where if he had waited and written it after the first one was published, then that learning and growing experience, maybe he didn't quite get that kind of that same experience that some other authors do. Let's see, Chris, haven't read either series yet, but they're both pretty high on the list. Does anyone recommend one series before the other? Before the other, I don't know. Almost everyone that I've talked to has said that Lightbringer is superior to Night Angel. And so, somebody else earlier, maybe it was Chad, somebody said that it was kind of juvenile. Yeah, it is. Its attitude, its aspect is a little bit juvenile. And so you can decide how kind of YA you want to go. It's super dark for something that's YA, but it's like if a horrifically violent snuff film were put on the CW, kind of, if that makes sense. Kind of, it has both of those aspects together. GG already. Gee, Christmas. No, they're fine. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, strengths and weaknesses and all that, but generally speaking, it seems like Lightbringer is going to be the better one, and so maybe you would start with that. All right. Let's see, is Dark Sun on the to-do list? I'm not familiar with Dark Sun, so you'll have to fill me in who wrote that. I don't know that one. Joshua or Josh? Tell me which one you like, Joshua or Josh. It's just so much easier to say Josh. Night Angel felt more like Mistborn to me, but yeah, the magic is similar in that. Well, oh yeah, okay, so I know what you're saying. I think if what you're saying is that it is a little bit more geared toward a younger audience, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Insufficient Vespine gas.
There we go. How many years between Lord of the Rings books? Great question. Would people be writing if he was writing these days? Okay, Josh, it is. Thank you. No, there wouldn't. So that is a single volume. Those aren't separate books. It's all one. Well, okay, it's 6 books that was all supposed to be part of one tome. That's the way that he wrote it. And then because there was a paper shortage after the war, So in the 50s, there was a paper shortage in England, and the publisher said, we literally cannot do this as a single volume. If you want your book published, it's gotta be done this way. And so he kind of gave in to that, and it got published as 3 different volumes. And so they split it up as book 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6. And so would people be writing if he was writing these days? Maybe for different reasons. But yeah, those books are just kind of, I think, fundamentally different than a lot of what gets written today. And would they get published today? Probably not, honestly. Yeah, I don't think so. What was I going to say? What else was I going to say about The Lord of the Rings? Have you guys been listening to the Hobbit episodes? One of the things that I think I've mentioned in both episodes so far is that Tolkien was, with The Hobbit at least, he was very free with his post-publication edits. And so the Gollum episode is a famous bit of that. But also beyond that, there's lots of little nitpicky edits that do make a difference, and they're peppered throughout the book. And so, all right, very funny Cosmere podcast. What was I even saying? Oh yeah, all these little changes in The Hobbit, and oh yeah, anyway, so would people be rioting? I mean, you look at the backlash to the way George Lucas handled the special editions, and people were like, oh, go see him in the theater, and then you kind of get this horrified look of like, what did you do to your amazing movies? So nerd culture being what it is now, I think if Tolkien did today to The Hobbit what he did in the 40s, then it might not go so well for him. Oh, there we go. All right, boss fight complete. There we go.
Not enough minerals.
Oh, let's see. We'll see how long this game goes. After this one is done, I will hop on a ladder match, and we'll see how that goes. The ladder, I've been... I climbed to... If you're familiar with the tier system here, there's bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and master league. And I climbed to platinum tier 1. So 3, 2, 1. I was in platinum 1, and that may be as far as I am qualified to get because this has got to be GG here. Because I've had a pretty hard time with it. Since then, I've lost quite a few matches, so we'll see what happens. Ooh, they're not going to make it. Okay. Let's see. The in-universe explanation for Tolkien's edits makes them so wonderful. Yeah, I talked about that in the last episode, I think, so I agree. If he was the freest with his edits, he was also the cleverest. All right, what do you guys think? A little... Do I dare do... competitive with you guys distracting me? Spider-Man episode forthcoming. I'm trying. I am trying to get everybody together. The only night this weekend that I think might work for us to get together would be Sunday night. I'm still working on whether that will be feasible. We'll see. But yeah, if we do, it won't be a Spider-Man Homecoming episode, but that will come up. We'll do another kind of movie roundup. So a summer movie roundup. Basically anything since Endgame would be fair game. And so I think I listed on the Discord server like 10 or 12 different movies that could possibly get talked about in that. So if we do it, okay, what do we got? Oh, geez, a Diamond League guy. See, this is what I'm talking about. Keep getting my butt kicked by Diamond Leaguers. But I guess it's what I deserve. I'm a lowly platinum. All right, let's see what I got. Fair endgame. I don't know. Oh. Let's see. By the way, is there anybody in this world who doesn't or didn't like Endgame? Seems like that was universally loved by everybody, but I could be wrong. I thought Spider-Man: Homecoming was really good though. It was. They wisely. I mean, what other choice did they have? They wisely did not try to keep going bigger and bigger and bigger with Endgame, and I'm glad they didn't, because that would have been a freaking disaster. What did it say he was? Terran?
What's going on?
Okay.
Go ahead. SCV ready.
You're trying to set up an author shelf with Brent Weeks. Yeah, that's still in the works. We are looking at a date of early to mid-October to record with him. He is releasing, as you guys probably know, Book 5 in Lightbringer. That's coming out October 22nd. And we kind of wanted to time his episode to coincide with that, or beat it by a week or two, probably. And so we would record with him in a couple of months. With him, he wanted to do, believe it or not, the Odyssey, which I thought was an interesting choice. And I'm kind of excited about it, honestly. It could be really cool to do something kind of classic like that, but you know, I don't know what the ancient Greeks like how into their religion they were. Like, obviously this is about like their gods and stuff, so you don't want to be too flippant about that, even though they're all long gone. But it definitely to us now feels very much like a fantasy work, and so I'd be kind of interested to read it that way, and see what we kind of come up with. Alright. Perhaps not loved. What's not? I don't remember what we were even just talking about.
What's going on?
What do I want to do? Yeah, let's...
Go ahead. SCV ready. This better be good.
Not enough
Uh-oh.
minerals.
Okay.
In the rear.
Not enough minerals.
Endgame. Yeah, maybe not universally loved, but yeah, when I get going on StarCraft, I'm hoping you guys will be kind of a mitigating influence on this, but I tend to get really like stressed out about it, and so hopefully I can kind of get past that here. Oh shoot, doggone it. See, this is what I'm talking about. You guys distracted me. Oy. Not good. I don't even have my friggin' orbital command. Yeah, there's no way I'm winning this game. Alright.
Not enough minerals.
Sure thing.
Add-on.
I don't have enough minerals. I get it. And my add-on is complete. Thank you very much. Alright, what do we got? 7, 8.
Command center upgrade complete.
We're dealing with. Okay, looks like he's doing about the same thing as me, except because he's not talking to all you guys, he's way ahead. So this is not going to end well. I hope you guys are prepared for that.
Ready to roll out. SCV ready.
All right.
Huh? Who wants some? What's going on? SCV ready.
Spider-Verse was an all-timer. I
Not enough
can't
minerals.
argue with that. That was a really, really good movie. And it's not like oh, Spider-Verse was good for an animated movie. Like, no, it was really effective. One thing I like, and maybe you guys can tell me if it's this way in the comics, I know that there was some kind of like dumbass backlash when the comics came out, and it was Miles, whatever his name is, and everybody's like,
You gonna give me orders? This better be good. Up, ready to go.
here we go.
Want some? It's go time. By the numbers.
Gotcha.
Command center upgrade complete.
Favorite movie ever. That's pretty significant, honestly.
Armed and ready. You want a piece of me, boy? We could use some help here. Ouch. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry guys. I've got to concentrate at least a little bit here.
Research.
Let's have a blast.
Okay.
Go, go, go.
Not enough energy.
Go ahead. What's going on?
Sometimes I like to go hide a little thing away. See if I can trick them out with that.
Gangway. Coming.
Ready for dust off.
Not enough
Oh,
minerals.
come on.
Additional supply depots required.
Big job, huh? SCV ready.
Not enough minerals.
Okay, if you don't hear you've not enough minerals 18 times in a game, you're not doing it right. So,
Need something blown up? SCV ready. Ready to plunder. No one lives.
oh shoot.
Add-on complete.
Talk to me. I heard that. Here's your stop.
Speak up. Order. Let's have a blast. Want a piece of me, boy? Fight or flight? Give us your
Uh-oh.
shot. What's that?
Understood.
Add-on.
Ready to plunder.
Go, go, go.
Confirm.
Babe. Kaboom, baby.
Alright. Try that again. At least he's not so far ahead now in unit count, I
Not
suppose.
enough minerals.
Um,
Mineral field depleted. Not enough minerals.
SCV ready. Let's have a blast. You gonna get me?
Ready for pickup?
SCV ready.
Not enough energy.
Ready to roll out.
okay.
Big job, huh? It's go time.
Not enough minerals.
Go, go,
Command
go.
center
Ready for
upgrade
dust off.
complete.
Been waiting on you. Roll it. It's about to get. You want a piece of me, boy? Fueled up, ready to go.
Okay.
By the numbers, boys.
You know what?
Show who wants. Ready to plunder.
They are looking none too secure, so.
This better be good.
Oops.
Let's have a blast. Time's a wasting. Say the word, baby.
Waiting on you. Confirm.
Base is
Oh shoot. Yep, we had the same thought.
I'm in deep.
mineral field.
It's on.
Not enough
Come on.
minerals.
By the numbers.
Base is under attack.
Can't hold him alone. You want a piece of me, boy? This better be ready. Can't hold him alone. It's go time.
Shoot. Well, he might have got me with that move.
Base is under attack.
Use some help here. Speak up. What's that? Ready to roll out.
I heard that.
You gonna give me orders? About to get heavy.
Okay.
Mineral field depleted.
Talk to me. Heading out. On my way.
Got no. Just stay with. It's go time. Fueled up, ready to go.
There we go. Alright, so not necessarily a complete loss, but things aren't looking so good.
We could use some help here.
All right, sorry, I have not. Oh yeah, was it Black Peter Parker? Okay, it wasn't. So he's like black, half Hispanic. Is that what it is? I can't quite remember, honestly. Okay.
What's going on?
Anyway, I think what I was saying was that I thought it was kind of clever the way that they wrote that character
Bad news?
to kind of get around that. Like, oh, it's not Peter Parker, you guys. Like, Peter Parker is sacrosanct. Like, this is Miles Morales. He's totally different. And I thought that was kind of an interesting way to handle it. So, and definitely, you know, kind of clever in a way to get around like idiots who aren't okay with Black Spider-Man. Oh wait, that's not what I want. Oh.
Ready for dust off.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Now what?
There we go. Now you're dead.
Ready to roll out.
Additional.
SCV ready.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Ready to blunder. You gonna give me orders? Who wants some?
On my way.
Uh-oh.
What's our target? SCV ready. You want?
Mineral field depleted.
Go ahead.
Come on.
Lights here. Now what?
Go, go, go.
Mineral field depleted. Additional supply depots required.
Uh-oh.
In the rear with the gear. This better be good.
Not enough minerals. Upgrade complete.
Yep. Bad news. Armed and ready.
Add-on complete.
Waiting on you.
Who wants some? Sure. Ready to roll out. You want a piece of me, boy? Ready to
dust
blunder.
off.
What's going on? Can't hold them alone. Go, go, go. 10-4. This gangway coming through. Aye, aye.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
Will do. Go, go, go. That's fine.
Talk to me.
SCV ready.
Where's the emergency?
Who wants some? This better be good.
Oh man, I can't believe I got that one. Okay. Whew, I can breathe now. Let's see. I didn't catch that. Was that Kevin Smith? Fat Man Beyond? I don't know. Miles is better than Peter. I don't know. Peter's a pretty classic character. There was some interesting analysis I heard on the Sub Beacon podcast when the movie came out about how you can't, like, Peter Parker doesn't work anymore. He is a classic character in a way, but you have to update him because even when the Tobey Maguire version came out in 2001, whenever it was, like the idea of Flash Gordon, what's his name? Flash Thompson, Flash something. What's his name? Somebody help me out. But the idea of Flash and like the school bully and some of the ways that, or even the fact that he lives in Brooklyn. I can't remember where Spider-Man lives, but like that neighborhood is no longer like kind of the white bread neighborhood that Peter Parker inhabits in the comics and in the movies. Like nowadays, that neighborhood is totally different. It's like putting setting Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen, where Hell's Kitchen is this totally gentrified part of town now that looks nothing like it did when they started writing the comics in the 70s or 80s or whatever it was. And so they had to update it. And in so doing, they had to evolve Peter Parker, and so they come up with Miles Morales, and I'm cool with that, especially with the explanation that they gave in the movie where it's like different universes, and so people who still love and cherish and want to hang on to Peter Parker can still do that, and at the same time bring Miles Morales into the fold. So yeah, I really like that. Let's see. Spider-Gwen was great, but I may be biased since I love that character archetype. What archetype is that? Out of curiosity. I thought she's great too. Playing against these diamond players. I don't know how I pulled that one out, to be perfectly honest. See, look at this. 219 actions per minute versus 97. Like, what is this guy doing? Is he just clicking for the sake of clicking? I don't understand what all these actions per minute are. But yeah, I spent way too much time supply capped. See, he got busted down to platinum too. That means he was just on the cusp. Yeah. Let's see what we were doing here. Yeah, we were both pretty equal at a certain point, but I think that first drop. Let's see. This is when we attacked each other's bases. That's what that was. Okay, so yeah, I recovered a little bit better from that than he did. Queens, is that where it is? Oh, it's in Queens. Okay, great. Apparently I didn't lose the game already. I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm fine with Peter Parker, but I need him to stop being a teenager all the time. Let him be an adult, please. How do you feel about Batfleck? The Ben Affleck version of that was he only in, no, he was in 2 movies, right? But how do you feel about that, where Batman is kind of this like busted up old man? I liked it, actually. So I'm kind of with you there. Spider-Gwen archetype, the highly competent, experienced woman that has to save the inexperienced protagonist a few times before he gets his feet under him. Is it always a woman? Is that an archetype, or is that just a character and this one is a woman? I don't... like, what if our main character is a woman also? Would that... Of course, if the main character was a woman and the Spider-Gwen archetype, as you say, were a man, I bet that would get a lot of complaints from a certain crowd. Didn't see Justice League. Batman v Superman... Can't remember it. Chad, have a great night. Glad you could join us. Trying to decide if I should do another one of these, but I don't love ignoring you guys while I am playing the StarCrafts. But if you guys enjoy them, I'll play another one. Oh yeah, where am I at on the ladder? This is the bar that I need to fill. And I am not... doing awesome. 32.53. Minimum league is 32.53. Okay, so I'm like 17 points over. Where were we? We were supposed to be talking about Brent Weeks. How did we get onto Spider-Man? Does it matter? Or are we all just shooting the breeze here at this point? So Chris says not always a woman, but often is. Let's see. A lot of complaining if the roles are switched. Variant of the mentor archetype. Yeah, I wonder about that. Yeah, I did think it was really interesting in our Ender's Game episode how Dave Farland pulled out a statistic, and I can't remember the exact number, but he says, I surveyed the YA literature out there, and it's like 400 and something YA books. 10% of them had a male protagonist, and so it's interesting. I thought it was fascinating to see how far the pendulum has swung the other way, and Lord knows this is not a complaint for me. the male protagonist has had his due already, and but I did think that was interesting. And so how do you shift the regular roles in these movies, the Luke Skywalker and the Obi-Wan Kenobi, and how do you deal with the gender dynamics of that as an author? That's got to be an interesting one to juggle. Of course, we do have the example of Mistborn, where Vin is tutored by Kelsier, and I thought that one, I really liked their relationship. I thought that was a really great one. It reminded me that I needed to edit. What do you need to edit? Video? Audio? Let's see. Josh says, what do we need to do to convince Stephanie to stick around for Lightbringer? I don't know that it will take much convincing. I know that she's really enjoyed being on the podcast. I think with The Hobbit, it's been a little bit different because this one was supposed to be Kyle coming on for The Hobbit, because he likes The Hobbit. He loves The Hobbit. He just finished reading The Hobbit to his kids, who call it The Hubbit, which is adorable. And so he was excited to come on, but some things got in the way, and he wasn't able to make it for the first couple. And so I don't know if he's going to try to come back. But Stephanie has come on for The Hobbit kind of as a fill-in, not expecting to have come on those. And so, like, especially with the last Hobbit one, she's like, I don't know what to say. It's been a little while since I read this book, and so I'll be curious to see if she sticks around on The Hobbit, and if she goes back and rereads the chapters that we do for the next one. Could be interesting. Cosmere podcast. Oh, did I remind you that you need to edit because it's the episode with me on it? Am I on that one? Anyway. Big dad energy. Something isn't that's a thing, right? I see what you did there. Kelsey is one of my favorite characters ever, honestly. I really like him. Okay, we need to check in on Twitter. See if anybody's mentioning anything. Christian is excited for me to get to Lightbringer. Oh, the link seems bad. Somebody said the link is bad. Huh. Gosh, I hope not. Let's see. Oh, no. No, it's working. I blame whoever was trying to click on it. Let's see, the scene where Vin gets her hair cut, he's dadding all over the place, and it's great. I don't remember that scene. Oh well. One of the nice things about me, I have a bizarre memory for certain things, and then just a terrible, terrible memory for others. And when it comes to something like Mistborn, I can remember certain things about it really well that other people would forget. And then big stuff that happens, like I forget so much stuff from books that I read, which is frustrating in some ways, because 5 years later, if I read a book and somebody wants to talk about it, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of keep up, but, it's been a little while. On the other hand, though, when I reread books, especially if it's been a few years, it is fresh. Like, it's not quite like reading it new, but it seems pretty close sometimes. Let's see. So, yeah, I don't know. All right, there's a few of you in the stream here. Why don't you guys vote in the comments? Let me know. Do you want me to play another one, or should we disband for the night? It's been, 48 minutes, 49 minutes. Let me know what you want to do. Old man. I have what I call a snapshot memory. It's like a photographic memory, but it's mostly random what I remember. Yeah, okay, Kyle and the Elantris videos. Thank you for bringing that up. I do still want people to vote. Let me know if you want me to keep playing StarCraft, and I'll take that into consideration. Kyle and Elantris. Kyle doesn't seem to be enjoying the Sanderson. Here, let's put this on here. Now let's do this one. Kyle doesn't seem to be enjoying Sanderson's style as much as he thought he would, and as much as everybody else thought that he would, which is, I'm sure, frustrating to him. It's frustrating to everybody else, but it's making it so that, yeah, he's, I don't know about if burnt out is the right word, but uninterested might be a better one. And so he is behind, obviously. You know, he hasn't done one of these Kyle Cosmere Quest videos for like a month and a half or something like that. And I think it's kind of hard for him to get back into it just because Elantris hasn't grabbed his attention. The way that he was introduced to Sanderson was through the Wheel of Time. He's a huge Wheel of Time fan, right? And so by the time he is introduced to Sanderson in that context, it's like, no, it's a story that I know and a story that I love and I want to continue it. And so this guy's going to do it, and he's doing a decent job at it. You know, awesome. We like Brandon Sanderson, but I'm not sure that he is into Sanderson on his own. Which, you know, like, that's fine. I don't begrudge anybody their taste. But I do hope, I wish and I hope that he will go on and get past Elantris. I love Elantris, but I understand that not everybody does, and that for some people you have to get to Mistborn or you have to get to the Stormlight Archive before Sanderson gets good. And so, but you know, how do you make someone continue? You don't. So, let's see. Poor dude can't catch a break on enjoying a book. It was Farseer, and he has said this readily. I can't remember if he has said this on the podcast, but he has said this to me frequently. The phrase that Farseer broke him, and I think my feeling on Farseer was, yeah, I did not like that first book. I continue to think that the first book is not great, but by the end of the trilogy I was kind of like, oh yeah, no, this is, I see the merits. I see how she has done what she's doing, and so I'm kind of, if not like super into it, I'm at least kind of interested in what she's doing. Kyle, on the other hand, hated Farseer. He hated it, and hated it so much that, yeah, I think it broke him of all fiction for a while. So, yeah, so it's kind of interesting what happened to him with that one. Let's look over here. Let's see. To be fair, Elantris is a bit of a step down compared to almost everything else in the Cosmere, except White Sand. I haven't read that White Sand novel that he sends out. Has anybody else read that? I'd be interested to see, you know, if that's an easier read than the graphic novel. I'm just not a graphic novel or a comics kind of guy, and so I have a hard time saying like, oh, this isn't good. Like, I don't know how to judge graphic novels, so I try to not be too critical of that one. Josh says, I think Kyle will love Stormlight. I think so too. I don't see how anyone on God's green earth could possibly not like Stormlight. Like, okay, I was just talking big about how, you know, I don't begrudge anybody their opinions or whatever, but that's one where I'm like, I guess I should caveat it this way. If you can make it 50% through The Way of Kings and you don't like it and you're not into it at that point, then I'm like, what gives? I don't understand. But I could understand how it would be really difficult for someone to make it through the setup phase of The Way of Kings, because it's that world building, character building setup times 3, which is just a lot to take. So I guess I do get that part of it. Cosmere says, I'm a graphic novel and comic guy. It's not good. So what is it about that? Is it the drawing? I didn't care for the style, the art style in the first one. Or is it something else? Is it the writing within? Is it the story? So what is it about that comic guy? Chris says, I think I mentioned it in Discord, but I'm listening to it in audiobook and enjoy that, but I don't think I'd make it through reading it. White Sand? Or something else? What were we talking about? Something else? Oh, Farseer. Sorry, you said it right there. Farseer. Yeah, thank goodness for... What's the guy's name that narrated that? Anyway, he's really good. He also does Night Angel, which was interesting to do that back to back. Trying officially not to have an opinion on White Sand, I assume, until it's finished, but dang, yeah. Okay, Josh says, as a Wheel of Time fan myself, I never even felt a setup phase. That's because the Wheel of Time's setup phase is 3.5 books. I'm going on another podcast this weekend called Inking Out Loud. It's hosted by Drew McCaffrey, who you might know if you read a lot of Tor.com, or if you're a huge Wheel of Time fan. He's big at JordanCon. That's where I met him, and he hosts a podcast. I agreed to go on there, and we're talking about the Dragon Rising. Shadow Rising? What is book 4? Are my books out of order? Shadow Rising, right? Yeah, Shadow Rising. That's what it is. We're talking about the Shadow Rising, which is my favorite in the Wheel of Time, partly because the first 3 books, it's like they're good. I really enjoy them, but compared to the rest of the series, the first 3 books are like a bunch of throat clearing, and then he starts to sing, in the middle of book 4, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So, based on what I get from other Sanderson stuff, I think the art is trying to do a lot of the heavy lifting that the prose would cover, and it isn't doing it well. Sanderson is amazing at setting a scene, compared to Rothfuss, who somebody was saying, did Kyle enjoy Rothfuss? Yes, he did enjoy Rothfuss. Compared to Rothfuss, people say, oh, his prose is so pedestrian. Screw that noise. His prose is delightful in how well it constructs a scene. I don't know if I've ever shown you guys this. I want to pull up something here. If we search Arthur... Oh, yeah, there we go. I don't know why my caps lock is on. I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times, but I cannot possibly express what an impact this paragraph has had on me in understanding what Sanderson does versus what a lot of other authors do. So this was written, back in early 20th century. The prose of its very nature is longer than verse. And can you guys read that? Is that? Oh wait, you can't see it. Arthur Clutton-Brock. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. Prose of its very nature is longer than verse, and the virtues peculiar to it manifest themselves gradually. If the cardinal virtue of poetry is love, by which I think he means emotion, the cardinal virtue of prose is justice. And whereas love makes you act and speak on the spur of the moment, justice needs inquiry, patience, and a control even of the noblest passions. By justice here, I do not mean justice only to particular people or ideas. This was written in a time when that word was highly disputed, much like it is now. And so there were a lot of eugenicists and racists running around spouting ideas about justice and stuff. So I think he's referring to that. I do not mean justice only to particular people or ideas, but a habit of justice in all processes of thought, a style tranquilized and a form molded by that habit. The master of prose is not cold, but he will not let any word or image inflame him with a heat irrelevant to his purpose. Unhasting, unresting, he pursues it, subduing all the riches of his mind to it, rejecting all beauties that are not germane to it, making his own beauty out of the very accomplishment of it, out of the whole work and its proportions, so that you must read to the end before you know that it is beautiful. But he has his reward, for his is trusted as and convinces, as those who are at the mercy of their own eloquence do not. And he gives a pleasure all the greater for being hardly noticed. In the best prose, whether narrative or argument, we are so led on as we read that we do not stop to applaud the writer, nor do we stop to question him. In my humble opinion, this one paragraph needs to be internalized by writers and readers alike. It is, if you really dig into this and think about it for a while, it becomes applicable in so many areas beyond just writing. This idea of prose versus poetry is absolutely amazing. So, okay, let's see if I can get back over to you guys. Let's see. Based on what I get from other Sanderson stuff, I think the art is trying to do a lot of the heavy lifting. We talked about that. Wheel of Time versus Stormlight. I honestly didn't expect the Everstorm to happen until like book 9. Yeah, I get that. Dragon Reborn book 3. Yeah, that's where I got mixed up. Anyway, okay. So we're an hour into this stream. Good heavens. Let's play one more ladder game. Chances are good you guys will finally see me get my ass kicked on this one. So, but I'm fine with that. I'm nothing if not a humble man. People say White Sand prose is better, but this is all coming from fans who like Brandon books. Yeah, that's the thing, is like White Sand, you're not going to reach out and ask for the emailed PDF of that if you're not a fan of Sanderson already. And so, yeah, a lot of selection bias there. Ooh, another Terran. Let's see. Ends on a cliffhanger. Interesting. So I wonder what he had planned for it. Impressed I'm at Platinum League? Well, thank you. Platinum League is the highest I've ever gotten in 1v1. I would really like to get to Diamond League, but never quite got there. See what we can do this time. Okay.
Bad news. In the rear with the gear.
Get it and read it, and you know, I think if you host the Cosmere Spoilers podcast, yeah, you should probably read White Sand. That is, I will say that's. I get jealous sometimes of the author specific or the world specific podcasts. You know, the Cosmere stuff. There's a ton of Wheel of Time podcasts that have popped up. And I get a little bit jealous sometimes about how focused they get to be. But on the other hand, I do like that we get to really branch out and define fantasy however we want to, and all that. So yeah, I really like that. Okay.
SCV ready.
Insufficient.
Oh,
best
come
in
on.
gas.
SCV ready. We'll butterfly this. Gangway coming through.
I refuse to get supply blocked again.
SCV ready.
Speaking of newsletters, are you guys subscribed to Brent Weeks' newsletter? Because apparently he released the first 2 chapters of The Burning White
Want a piece of me, boy?
via the newsletter. So if you're not signed up for that, it might be something you should look into.
SCV ready.
Okay.
SCV ready.
Not enough
Come on.
minerals.
Okay.
You gonna give me orders? Roger that.
Add-on complete.
This better be good.
Not enough minerals.
Okay, so they're not hanging out down there. That's good news.
Want some?
Not enough minerals.
Bad news? Go ahead.
Command center
Go,
upgrade.
go, go!
Alright.
Add-on complete.
Read books. Josh, you've read books 1 and 2 of which one? Night Angel or Lightbringer? Because I haven't read any of them. I just started. And I'm going to have to read all 4 books in like, I think 6 or 7 weeks. I don't know when they're going to release the advanced review copies, but I'm hoping that we can get our hands on one of those.
Armed and ready.
We'll see.
Add-on complete.
But yeah, whenever that comes out, I'll want me and Ryan at least to have a chance to read that so that we can have a podcast for you. Oh, yeah, another Josh. Have a podcast for you ready to go, kind of similar to what we did with, with Oathbringer. It
SCV ready.
was really nice to have Oathbringer ready to go. TBH.
Additional supply depots
Oh,
required.
shut up.
Ready for dust off.
Additional supply depots required.
Okay, I think it's about time to think about expanding.
Go ahead. Need some?
Okay.
Been something in the way.
Ready for dust off.
Gangway coming through.
Come
Talk
on.
to me. Waiting on you. Confirmed.
Okay.
Go, go, go!
Life flight's here. Ready for pickup? Let's go.
It's about to get heavy.
Heading out.
Okay, let's see what we're dealing with over here.
I heard that.
Oh yeah, beauty.
Fueled up, ready to go. What's that? You gonna give me orders? Gangway.
Ready for dust off.
Ready to plunder.
Add-on complete.
Confirmed.
I'm in deep.
Okay, so not bad, but could have been better. How are we doing over here?
Not enough minerals.
It's about to get heavy.
Not enough minerals.
This better be good. You gonna give me orders? Who wants some?
Command center upgrade.
Fueled up, gangway coming through. That's fine. Ah, you scared me.
Alright.
Job, huh?
Sorry, oh yeah, Lightbringer. Sorry, I'm kind of losing track of the thread here. I apologize. But once I get going on this,
Oh,
Mineral field depleted.
I absolutely have to concentrate.
Ready for pickup.
been waiting. SCV ready. Why not?
Research complete.
Okay.
It's go time. SCV ready. Who wants some?
Interesting. Okay.
By the numbers, boys. Will do. SCV ready.
Ready for dust off.
Kaboom, baby!
Insufficient
You want a piece of me,
destiny
boy?
gas.
Bold. Ready to blunder. Sure. hold them alone. Armed and ready.
Oops.
Ready.
You gonna give me orders? Transformation systems primed.
Talk to me.
Additional supply depots required. Additional supply depots required. Insufficient Vespene
Okay.
gas.
In the rear. Sure. Affirmative. Oh yeah.
Where's the emergency?
Go, go, go!
Mineral field depleted.
This better be good.
Waiting on you. Ready for dust off.
Come on.
Plunder.
Mineral field depleted.
Gangway. Coming through. It's your dime.
Not enough minerals.
Oh man, I'm really behind on my workers.
Some. You want a piece of me, boy? Bad news?
Oh, it's on.
SCV ready.
Let's have a blast.
Mineral field depleted.
Okay.
Go, go, go!
I think it's time for a little misdirection.
Not enough.
Uh-oh.
SCV ready.
Boom, baby.
This better.
Don't leave me hanging. Of course.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Talk to me. Acknowledged.
SCV ready.
Mm,
Who wants some?
Alright. 7 a.m. here.
Go, go, go!
Trying bookbinding? Oi.
This better.
Yeah, get some sleep, man.
Armed and ready.
Sounds intense.
What's that?
Okay.
Coming through. You gonna
Research.
SCV ready. We could use some help here. SCV ready. This better be good.
Okay.
Wait. Ready for pickup?
Not enough.
SCV ready. Fueled up, ready to go. Can't wait. Go, go. By the this better.
Okay, this guy's probably got the right idea, though. I need my next expansion.
Lay it on. Big job, huh? Who wants some?
Okay.
Gangway, coming through. Ah, you scared? Ready to plunder.
Oh, it's on.
Armed and ready. SCV ready.
See what we can do.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Just downloaded White Sand, huh? Well, I'm sure you won't regret it.
Sparky.
Everybody seems to like it. Well,
10-4.
once they account for, you know, the unpolished nature of it, they seem to like it. So,
SCV ready. I'm on it. Look forward to it. We could use some help here. Can't wait. Oh yeah, this better be good.
Not enough minerals.
Who wants some?
alright.
Ready. Speak up. Got no faith. Need something blown up. Been waiting on you. Of course.
Okay.
Way coming through.
I know he's got towers here, but
Sure thing. Oh yeah. Will do.
oh shoot.
Mineral field depleted.
Oh crap, I'm way behind on my unit production.
By the numbers, boys.
Hopefully that hurt him a little bit, but I'm not counting on much, honestly. This field is doing.
You scared me.
Okay.
Go, go, go.
Not enough minerals.
Ready to plunder. Fueled up, ready to go.
Command center upgrade complete.
Gangway coming through.
Alright. You know what?
Go ahead.
Calls for something slightly different, I think.
Yeah, whatever. Huh? You want a piece of me, boy?
Ready for dust off.
Yeah.
Ready to roll out. SCV ready. Will do. Who wants some?
Not enough minerals.
Can't hold them alone. Oh, yeah. Been waiting. You gonna give me orders? SCV ready. This better be good.
It's about to get heavy.
Okay. What if we really messed with him here?
Yep.
Ready for dust off.
Big job. Go, go, go. By the number.
Might be too late for me to do this, but maybe I can give it a shot.
Go time.
Bad news. Ah, you scared? Ready to roll out. Aye, aye, sir. Got it. Armed and ready.
Additional supply depots
Boom,
required.
baby.
Oh wow, there's his guys. Holy crap.
What's our target? Who wants some?
Vespine geyser exhausted.
You gonna give me orders? Go, go, go.
Mineral field depleted.
Fueled up, ready to go. This better be good.
Okay.
Vespine geyser exhausted. Upgrade add-on complete. Additional supply
Oh,
depots required.
jeez.
What's going on?
Insufficient Vespine gas.
Alright.
Go ahead. Huh? Roger.
Additional supply depots required.
Who wants some?
Our SCVs are under attack. Our SCVs are under attack. Our SCVs are under attack.
In the rear with the gear. Armed and ready. Can't wait.
Well, this may be... I may have gone the wrong tactic here. We'll see.
Mineral
Oh,
field
jeez, that's
depleted.
why.
Ah! What's going on?
Okay.
SCV ready. Go ahead.
Who called in the fleet? Well,
SCV ready.
Okay.
Lay it on me. Gangway.
Research complete.
Affirmative. In the rear with the gear. Sure thing. This SCV ready. Looking forward. Who wants some?
Mineral field depleted.
Aha.
Upgrade complete.
SCV ready. We could use some help here. Want a piece of me, boy? Oh, yeah.
Get me out of this mess.
Who called in the fleet?
Insufficient Vespene gas.
What is it?
Armed and ready.
Base is under attack.
Ready to plunder.
Our SCVs are under attack.
Oh, jeez. That's a lot of bad guys. Alright, that's a GG right there.
B-boy.
Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. Ass sufficiently kicked. Oh gosh, now I got to, I need to go back to this chat so I can see what you guys have said. Let's see, download a price for the White Sand Pros. Heard a story at one point that Brandon gave his regular alpha readers a piece that he polished without them, and they were all shocked to remember that he's actually a really good writer. Seth, if you dust off StarCraft, let me know. I'm always looking for somebody to 2v2 with. I enjoy 2v2. How did I like living in Washington? I grew up in Washington. I lived in King County until I was 10, and that's when I moved to Utah. And I've always missed it. Utah has its charms, but I don't know. I think I left at an age when that was just starting. You know, the climate and the feel of the Seattle area was just sort of cementing itself, and so I've always missed it. And now, like Utah is home as well, but went back there for 2 years with my wife after college and loved it again. The only problem with it is so we left in 2013, and when we left, Seattle specifically, not Washington in general, but Seattle specifically, was starting to become unlivable for a certain segment of the population that is not incredibly wealthy. And so, yeah, we were not wealthy enough to live anywhere near Seattle. And it was also starting to, I felt like the city was kind of going downhill a little bit in some ways. So I hope it recovers because I love Seattle. I have nothing but love in my heart for it. So, yeah, I love Washington. If I do ever move back there, like we kind of daydream a little bit about where we might retire in 30 years or whatever. And we've talked about the Skagit Valley. If you're not familiar, it's kind of north of Seattle, and it's very rainy, very lush, very rural area. But it's also close to like the islands and close enough that we can go visit the city. So talked about the Skagit Valley a little bit. It is expensive there. Elsie, what part of Washington are you in, out of curiosity? Let's see. Josh says, reminds me, how much do I have to bribe Todd to read a series, namely The Expanse? Not much, probably. How do you guys feel about the idea of doing another of those pay-to-read things? That was a really good fundraiser for us. If you weren't around, we did a thing a couple years ago now where people paid, like a dollar got you one vote, and so you could donate as much as you wanted, and that purchased one vote, and you got to vote for what we read next. I enjoyed that. It brought us Farseer, which I am so glad we read, even if it broke Kyle. And even if it wasn't our favorite thing, I'm really glad that we read it. And it's nice to have that knowledge of what that kind of classic is. So, let's see. I can literally dust off my StarCraft 2. I still have the physical box it came in. I think I do too, still somewhere. But let's see, Seattle. So, what part of Seattle? Out of curiosity, please don't give your home address on YouTube. But what part of Seattle? My wife and I almost moved to. Now I've got to look it up because I'm not as familiar as I would like to be. Go here. Let's see. My wife and I almost signed a contract in Madrona. which is confusing because my cat was a stray that was picked up in Medina. Apparently he was a very wealthy cat till he met us. But yeah, we almost signed a contract in Madrona, but then the guy turned out to be a real tool. Like, I asked him if I could have a minute to read the contract, and he flipped out. So we didn't move in there. Wedgwood. Oh, yeah, Wedgwood's great. Alex, did you leave and come back? Glad to have you back. Let's see. Seth says yes to pay to read. Seth, you're from Oregon. Yeah, you were mentioning Brent Weeks is another Northwest author. There's a ton of Northwest authors. I feel like there's these little pockets, and the Pacific Northwest is one of them, especially the Seattle area, but a few in Oregon as well. But then Utah has so many fantasy authors. Someday I would really like some anthropologist, some really smart anthropologist to help us understand why Utah churns out really good spec fic writers. Let's see. Green Lake is great. Yeah, we like to joke about where my cat came from. If you're not familiar with the Seattle area, Medina is where, let me go pull that back up here. So you've got Seattle over here, and then over here, Bellevue is like the rich side. Like, you know, it's the east side. It's the rich side on the other side of the lake. And then Medina is the rich part of that rich east part. And this is where, like, your Bill Gates and those kind of, like, Amazon execs have their homes in Medina. And so we went to a shelter and, you know, somewhere in Redmond and adopted our cat, and they said he'd been picked up as a stray in Medina like a month earlier and nobody had claimed him, so we snagged him. Let's see. Yeah, that guy who wouldn't let us read the contract. So I showed up. We liked the place enough. I mean, it was pretty run down, but you know, we're like, hey, we're in our 20s. We can deal with rundown. That's fine. So we were going to go for it because we wanted to be closer into the city. It still would take a little while, like by bus, to get downtown. But so we're all set to sign it, and I go to get the contract, and the guy hands it to me, and I said, well, you know, so my wife's going to be signing this too. I'd like to take it to her to have her read it, and then I can bring it back to you tonight. And he lost his it was remarkable. I've never seen a guy freak out like that in public before. You know, I'm like ready to do violence. And so he loses his mind, and I'm like, you know, what is this, you trying to get me to sign the contract? Because now obviously I'm not going to. And he went even crazier. I should come back, LC. If it weren't for the money issue, I would want to. And then also there's the fact that I have 2 kids, and I don't make much money. Sarah, my wife, she works from home, but not full time. She works part time from home, and so she doesn't pull in enough to, you know, for us to like save a ton of money or whatever. So I would love to, but it's not like we had to go after we had our first kid because we're like, you know, the 2-bedroom apartment that we were in then in 2013 was like $1,300, and that was like well outside the city. That was up in let's see, where am I? There we go. For anybody who cares, that was up here in Bothell and Woodinville. We were right on the border of those two, so it was like way up here, and it was still $1,300. Now I think I looked a couple of years ago, and it was like $1,800 for the same apartment. And so if we wanted something that could fit our little family, it's not going to happen. All right. Let's see. Shadowrun. What's Shadowrun? Who's that? Utah does have better skiing. This guy I mentioned, I'm going on this podcast, Inking Out Loud, with Drew McCaffrey. I met Drew and his wife at JordanCon earlier this year, and we decided that Utah does have great skiing. They're out in Colorado, and so they've done all the runs out there. They're going to come out here this winter, and he's going to come on the show, and we're going to go skiing. I don't know if he skis, but but his wife will come skiing with me, so that'll be fun. So yeah, if anybody wants to come out to Utah and go skiing, I will 100% take a day off of work and go skiing. Let's do it. I love skiing. Elsie, I'm afraid it's turning into San Francisco. It's turning or has turned. Like from what I understand, which at this point is from a pretty outsider's perspective, but I try to keep my pulse on it. It's already like pretty bad in a lot of ways, at least in a lot of places. So there are fewer and fewer pockets of Seattle left that aren't pretty rough in a lot of ways. When I was out there with my wife, 5, 6, 7 years ago, gosh, my brother was living in Lake City, and there were shootings out in Lake City, fairly frequently. So, Boston is horrible pricing wise. I've looked into Boston. Cyberpunk game. Oh, interesting. Cool. Yeah. By the way, have you guys read Terry Brooks's Word in the Void series with Running with the Demon, Night of the Word, and Angel Fire East? That one's kind of Chicago centric at first, and then I think they go to Seattle eventually. I really love that trilogy. It's fantastic. So let's see. Oh yeah, Alex. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. So, you should let me know. I just got a new pair of skis. They are cheap. So, Elsie, if you have not read that one, Terry Brooks, I hope you're familiar. Even if you haven't read him, I hope you're familiar with who he is. Have you read Shannara? These are not at all like Shannara. They're urban fantasy, but he actually ended up he kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? He retconned this trilogy, The Word and the Void, into a prequel trilogy for Shannara. So it ends up coming later. It's really interesting. I think I might just not like Terry Brooks' writing. That's possible. I mean, read the first, started and haven't finished the second. Oh, interesting. I mean, I read them when I was a teenager. I wonder what it would be like to go back to them now. So I would like for us to do those on the podcast. That's one of those ones where, like, when we did the Belgariad, that was like nobody was clamoring for us to do the Belgariad. It hasn't been a huge it hasn't been a huge tool for us to recruit new listeners or anything, but that was Ryan's passion project. He really wanted to do the Belgariad, and I'm so glad we did, and it was fantastic. But if we did the Word in the Void, it would be kind of like that. It's like, nobody's clamoring for us to do the Word in the Void, but I loved it when I was a kid, so I wouldn't mind going back to it. Josh, what is the vague Sanderson news? I have not heard this. Is it something that just came out? I've been unplugged from Twitter for an hour. So, Elsie, is he a good writer? Cosmere Podcast says he is a successful writer. Yes, he is a good writer. That doesn't mean that he would be to everyone's taste. He definitely was in his prime in like the 90s, I think, the 80s and 90s. He published The Sword of Shannara in 1977. And that one was an extremely derivative kind of Tolkien ripoff, but really good. I think really effectively done. Like, not everybody. It's kind of like the person who can effectively forge a piece of artwork is in their own right a really great artist. Like, so it may be a Tolkien ripoff, but he is really good at it. But then after that, he kind of goes out on his own and does his own thing with the Shannara series, and it was really good. He's done Shannara, he's done The Word in the Void, and he's done Landover, which I think is one of the best intros to fantasy that I've come across. Josh, you gotta let us in on the news, man. What is this about Sanderson? I'm gonna be signing off here in just a few minutes. But I am curious to see what you are talking about with the Sanderson news. The Magic Kingdom for Sale books, absolutely delightful. they walk a very nice line between being kind of silly, but then also kind of serious and emotional. You take the characters really seriously, but they're often paired up with sidekicks or put into situations that are a little bit comical and fun. So, Elsie, which book would you recommend first? I love Brandon Sanderson. I might, if you love, okay, let me ask you this. If you love Tolkien, do you love Tolkien? Because if you do, then start with the Sword of Shannara. Just understanding that it is a Tolkien kind of ripoff. It'll give you the foundation for the Shannara series, because Book 2, The Elfstones of Shannara, and Book 3, The Wish Song, are both amazing, really, really good books. I think Sword is really good too, but I know a lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth from how derivative it was. Anyway, but Book 2 and 3 are amazing, and then if you continue on with Shannara, there's a 4-book series that comes after that that's more cohesive. So that first trilogy is it's like Generation 1, Generation 2, Generation 3 in those 3 books. And so you're not following the same characters. So they're more loosely tied together. But that 4-book series is a group of characters that all go, they come together, then they separate for their own adventures through these books, and then they come back together for the finale. And those 4 books are maybe Terry Brooks at his best. Really, really great. If you don't start there, like I said, I recommend the Landover series to just about anybody. That starts with Magic Kingdom for Sale, sold, so you can go check that one out. I probably these days I probably wouldn't start with Word in the Void, just because I don't know how it's aged. It's a very 90s book, so. All right, J. Michael Straczynski and Brandon working on a TV pilot. Oh, that's cool. So remind me, Josh, what Dark One is. I'm not sure. Do we have any details on that besides the title? I'm not sure. Okay. Chase, just wanted to say I found the pod about a month ago and I'm loving it. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's really nice of you to say. I love getting notes from people who just found us. I talk to these old busted people all the time, so it's nice to have some new faces in there. I am curious, Chase, what how you found us, what you've been listening to. If you've read anything new because of the podcast, I love hearing about that. If there's anything that we've done that you haven't read that you decided to pick up. Let's see. Yeah, so Elsie, I'm gonna type it out. The Sword of Shannara, go check it out. Again, be patient with it if you struggle with a derivative work. It's pretty hefty, but if you like Sanderson, that shouldn't be a problem. It's like 700 or 800 pages. So what he tried to do was the Lord of the Rings tied together with a Western, and so you have a lot of Lord of the Rings plot right up front. With the Frodo and Sam character, and they're visited by the Gandalf character, and then they go off on the adventure, but then they end up meeting up with these other colorful characters, and it feels a little bit more like a wandering Western, so it gets cool. Oh yes, Cosmere Podcast says please don't watch the Shannara show. It's bad. That is true. The show, which aired on MTV and then Spike for its second season, was based on Elfstones, which is book 2. And they started there because that's probably his most popular, all-time popular book, is the Elfstones of Shannara. I kind of encourage people to read it, if only for to see just how bad it can get. It's so bad that I don't worry about, how sometimes you see an adaptation and you're like, oh, that's these are the characters, this is all I can see now. I can't. Does that make sense? Like this is what the characters look like, and I can't get out of it. Like Frodo just looks like Elijah Wood now. That is not a problem with this because it's so bad and it has so little to do with the actual plot of the book that I haven't had any trouble like keeping the two separate in my mind. So, if you guys haven't seen this, you really ought to. It was some of the most fun I ever had. Writing, and it's on TV and Jelly. Unfortunately, she's not really updating this anymore. She was doing Bachelor recaps, so like, and they're the most hilarious Bachelor recaps I've ever seen. But she has this style of screen capping and recapping comically that I think is fantastic. So I asked her if I was allowed to do that, and so I did it for the Shannara Chronicles. So you can go check this out at tvjelly.com. And I did all 10 episodes of the first season. Yeah, it's not that it's like the best or the funniest, but it was some of the most fun that I've had. I think you guys should go check that out. I had such high hopes because I love Shannara. It got a second season. It did get a second season. I don't know how. I don't know why. The TV landscape is interesting now because a show doesn't have to be popular. It just has to be popular enough with a certain subset of the population. And so, yeah, they didn't have to like get millions and millions of viewers. They were able to make do with, a couple 100,000 that tuned in. Oh yeah, Alex, you've been reading them? I hope you've been enjoying them. I really loved writing them, and every once in a while I'll go back and read one of them and just remember how bad the show was. I have never seen a show disrespect its audience or like insult its audience's intelligence the way that this show did. I have never come across something like it before. I hope I never do again, but it's almost worth it just for that. Like the idea that a zip line can be used to get both ways across a canyon. Like she's going down on a zip line, and then in the next scene she goes back across the canyon. Just things like that. Just. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Oh, Dead Seattle. Yeah. Well. And that was the other thing. Like, this is supposed to be 3,000 years into the future after a nuclear holocaust. 3,000 years. And the Space Needle is still looking pretty good. There's other scenes where they come across, I don't know if it's in this one or if it's in the next episode, they come across, like, a playground, with or like a helicopter, and it's that's supposed to be Safeco Field, believe it or not. Anyway, it is pretty terrible. Worse than Avatar: The Last Airbender? I don't know because I'm not. Oh boy, I know I'm opening a can of worms here. An anime guy. Okay, I know some people say it's not anime, whatever. And so I wasn't into the original, and I never saw the adaptation, so I can't say. Let's see. Legend of the Seeker, dumb Xena-style roaming adventure. I loved Xena and Hercules when I was a kid. That's great. Josh, you said your mother-in-law loves it. What is it? I'm sorry, I'm just going back and trying to see what it is that you're talking about. Yeah, let me know what you're talking about. Is this an anime pose? Oh gosh, yeah, I think I wrote that the caption for the Dead Safeco Field. I think I wrote that right after that infamous play with the Steelers. So that was kind of fresh on my brain. I couldn't believe. I loved the Seahawks, but I'm having a hard time cheering for them as long as what's his name is the coach there, if I'm being honest. Oh, the Shannara show. Your mother-in-law loves it. Okay. All right. Well, she's not the only one. I heard of a few people who really, really like it. Whatever. Okay, you guys, my voice is kind of going, and I have to film some videos for work tomorrow, so I'd better not completely shoot it dead. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you enjoy this. I was thinking about as I was sitting here, I was kind of organizing the studio. I could do a studio tour for you guys sometime if you wanted. But I was sitting here organizing the studio, and I was like, I ought to make a video. But the idea of sitting down and like editing and scripting and all that stuff, I was just like, I can't do it. But maybe I can hop on for a live stream. So hopefully it's enjoyable. Yeah, Elsie, I hope you come back. Hopefully this was a lot of fun. I think next time maybe I'll just give you guys as good a tour as I can. Maybe put a USB extender on one of these cameras so I can kind of walk you around the studio and give you a look at it. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching my humiliating defeat and my glorious triumph in StarCraft. And obviously, most importantly, thanks for listening to the show. Keep the feedback coming, and with you guys here on the live stream, I assume this is a group of people who is interested in what we do, apparently. And if that's the case, and if you haven't done so yet, make sure you go on iTunes and review the show. Review it wherever you listen to it, but on iTunes especially. The last few reviews that I've seen have been dissatisfied customers, and it just kills our algorithm on iTunes. And it seems to be people who like really hate what we do, and then they go and so I'm like, first of all, why are you going and reviewing? But second of all, if you're going to do that, why give us 2 stars then? Why is it not 1 star? I don't understand the mindset there. But yeah, if you enjoy what we do, really appreciate the reviews. Obviously, Patreon is awesome, but if you can't do that, reviewing us, sharing us on Reddit, on appropriate subreddits, for Ender's Game episodes or for Dune episodes or whatever the case may be, sharing us around on Reddit, on Twitter, on Facebook is extremely appreciated. I love that stuff. Love you guys helping us get the word out. I did this last time, and so I'll do it one more time. I'll show you guys what happened this month, or I should say in July. I thought that July was going to be a down month for us, slightly, not too bad. But then after I did the Daniel Green YouTube channel appearance, which was a ton of fun. I love hanging out with Daniel. And then we had Dave Farland on to talk about Ender's Game, and those two events really helped us out. And we hit a milestone. It was our most successful or most downloaded month to date, with over 31,000 downloads in the month of July. And so it's not just those events, it's all of you guys out there helping us out, getting the word out. And so whatever you can do to help us do that really is going to be awesome. We're bringing on our first sponsor soon, and I hope to do more. I hope for those sponsors to be relevant. Like I'm not particularly interested in doing mattresses and toothbrushes. So we're working with our first sponsor right now, and it's these download numbers that help us to do that. And so between Patreon and sponsorships and whatnot, I'm hoping that this podcast in the long haul will be financially stable, and then also potentially worth it to the panelists as well. The only thing that I've benefited from personally financially that hasn't gone directly back into the podcast is this studio that you see. And that has been amazing for me, but none of the other panelists get any money from this. And I would love for that one day to change, for them to have, some sort of reward for all the hard work that they've put in. I've done a lot for this podcast, but it wouldn't be anything without the other panelists as well. So I'd love to help them out with that. The second highest month, Josh, was, I think this one back here, but this month was an anomaly. In between here in December and January, there was a glitch. And so these downloads are actually, the trend line should go right along with these other months around them. So there's a glitch in Podbean, our host, and so those don't really count. So the actual second highest was May, just over 30,000. Blew my mind. Loved it. The Brandon episode, LC says 5-star podcast. The Daniel Green video where I debated with a couple other guys, that was from which podcast was it? The Watt Spoilers, I think it was. Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. That was so much fun, and when we finished, like, everybody was still friends and everything afterward, but I think they were really surprised by how hard I came out of the gate on that one, and was like, I'm ready to debate. I love debate, and I love that stuff. So that was a really interesting video to do. Brandon episode, Josh, was back here in January. I think it aired on January 28th or something like that. I'm actually surprised that it didn't do better than it did. I wonder if it's because of the title that he chose. People are like, oh yeah, Brandon's fine, but I'm not going to read Terry Pratchett. I don't know exactly why it didn't get the feet or the legs that I thought it was going to get. Let's see. Yes, Seth and Patrick from Wheel of Time Spoilers. Let's see. It was it was a lot of fun. I felt confident after we were done with the debate. I was like, oh yeah, I killed it. But this is why I have no friends. Okay. Well, hopefully this gives you guys a good glimpse into the podcast. I've been really closed with this information for a long time, but decided recently to kind of open up about it. So hopefully you enjoy it. If not, sorry, but yeah, hopefully this gives you an idea of what we're doing. It's there are a lot bigger podcasts out there, but there are a lot smaller ones too, including us from 2-3 years ago. You can see the progression here, and I remember the first month that we got 1,000 downloads in a month, and I thought that my brain was going to explode. And now we're doing 30,000 in a month. It's great. A lot of that is just from the fact that we have such a great backlog, and we keep our episodes evergreen. But anyway, so all right, thanks guys for watching. I'm gonna sign out. If you have any other questions, you can hit the comments on this video. You can stay in the live stream and do comments there, or you can hit the comments after it's uploaded by YouTube. Obviously, check us out on Discord, and we can chat there. So, still alive, Seattle. All right, Elsie, I think your name is new, so I don't know if I've seen you on other forums, but I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad the rest of you are here as well. And I will see you guys later.